loved music. And coming to town was the Pirates of Penzance, a road troupe. So everybody's singing the songs of the Pirates of Penzance. Her girlfriend comes to her and says, hey, a lot of people are leaving the troupe because they got to San Francisco. They're doing auditions. Let's go get one. She says, can't do it. Girlfriend auditions, gets a part. Comes back, says, the boat's leaving tomorrow. Come on, there's still parts open. She dresses up to go to school the next day. She's going to piano lessons. Gives her mother an extra hug goodbye, goes outside behind the tree, there's a suitcase with her traveling clothes, down to the dock on the ship, and she auditions and gets the part of the cabin boy, if you know the show, which means she gets not only to sing, but she gets to dance. They go down to Monterey, they go down to Los Angeles for a while, out to San Bernardino, and then to Prescott, Arizona. Prescott, Arizona is the railhead. From then, there, it's 2 days by stagecoach to the booming city of Tombstone, Arizona. 15,000 people lived in Tombstone, by the way. It wasn't a little town like they show you. Going down, they hear that there's Apaches on the loose. So now you got the stagecoaches, a couple of stagecoaches and a couple of wagons, all going toward Tombstone, and off to the right, all of a sudden, coming up over the rise, running parallel to them, are some very notable, cut-your-throatable Indians. Quick test, where'd that line come from? Anybody know? Annie, get your gun. You grow up with show music here? first song you sing. Well, the Indians are coming toward the stagecoach, the men are handing guns, the women duck down and scream, and they're racing toward the way station. They're not going to make it. Everybody's screaming. The guys are shooting. Off to the other side, a posse. Saved. Chase off the Indians, run away. The stagecoach will slow down. In comes the posse, and into the window of her stagecoach, guy sticks his face, covered with dust. He sees the two girls, knew that there were girls missing, because he was the sheriff of Tombstone. His name was Johnny Bean. And he looked at Josie, right here, got him right here. And she looked at him and said, ooh, good-looking cowboy. They get to the way station, the two of them spend all night long sitting up talking. No, they did. They get to Tombstone, the troop goes into the hotel, she goes to the Marks family. The Marks were friends of the Marcuses back in San Francisco. That night, bathed, with his best clothes on, comes the sheriff, Johnny Bean, and invites her to dinner in a restaurant in town, which was in town a block away. Not usual for an unchaperoned young lady, but she goes with him. And they become an item. He proposes to her. Wonderful. She accepts. Her girlfriend, 2 days later, says, there's a problem, he's married. The next stagecoach out of town, back to San Francisco. 3 days later, knock on the door, Johnny being the sheriff. With papers, I'm divorced. Got his divorce papers. And he sits down with Mr. Marcus, and convinces him that he would make a good husband for Josie. And for some reason or other, he says, okay, let's get the wedding going. He says, no, I can't do it here. I got business in town. I'm the sheriff. We're going to do it in Tombstone. Back goes Josie to Tombstone. Mr. Marcus gives her enough to buy a house. And she lives in her house. And Johnny Bean spends a lot of time in the house. And she starts to learn about Johnny. That he was a crooked sheriff. You heard of the Clantons, right? They're the bad guys in the gunfight at the OK Corral. The Clanton family were known as the cattlemen. Their job was to supply Tombstone with cattle. Now, if you brought it in from Texas, that's a long way. It'd be very expensive. If you brought it in from California, a long way, expensive. If you brought it in from Mexico, cheaper, big tariff. But anybody here who's been to Tombstone, you know there is a basically dry river that runs parallel to town all the way to Mexico. So the cattlemen would go into Mexico, steal the cattle, and bring it back to Tombstone. Tombstone had cheap beef. The one person responsible for handling it, who was responsible for maintaining the law was Johnny Bean. Nothing was done. And Josie finally figured it out because every time they'd come back from a cattle drive, old man Clanton would come in with his sons and they'd have a poker game. And Johnny Bean always won. And nobody was upset. She figured it out. Jewish girl, smart girl. So basically, she throws him out of the house. That's it, I'm done. The minute she throws him out of the house, the other new family in town was the Earps. They had just gotten to town. 4 brothers. And Wyatt comes courting because he had seen her in the show. He really liked her. He comes to courting and she says, I finally found the right kind of guy. Wyatt was a man of such stature that when he was the marshal of Dodge City, he never shot his gun. He was just that kind of guy that you listen to. Well, now Johnny Bean was upset. He wanted his girl back. He figured out a way to do it. So he told the Clantons, this weekend, in most towns in the West, it's not like Hollywood shows. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the towns are quiet, and the men walk around in suits and derbies. You see that in a lot of pictures you see. It wasn't like they show. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the ranchers, the miners, the cowboys, or whatever, would come into town. Those were the crazy times. And they would usually leave Sunday. Had to be out of town on Monday. Well, along comes Monday, and the Clantons hadn't left. So Johnny Bean comes to the police station. Virgil Earp was the chief of police. And he said, the Clantons haven't left town. But I disarmed them. Would you go over there and just tell them to shoo out of town? So Virgil and Frank and Wyatt Earp and his friend Doc Holliday left the police station, walked down the street, this place is going Corral. And Doc Holliday looks ahead and sees the Clantons are armed, and one of them is pulling out a gun. He just pulls his shotgun up from his coat, goes bang, 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 bang. Gunfight at the OK Corral takes place. 2 of the Clantons are killed. 2 of the Earps are slightly wounded. They're arrested, but not put in jail because by Johnny Bean, who's the sheriff, goes to court quickly. The judge throws the whole thing out. Josie and Wyatt are married, and they're married for 50 years. They travel the West together. What happened really at the OK Corral is that Johnny Bean wanted his girlfriend back. And he was out to bushwhack Wyatt Earp to get her back. So now we